exactly how many times did Bolio change hands?
I'm not positive on that. I think he might have started out. What's the name of his parents? Klaus with a K. Apparently, I guess it was Eddie Klaus had him because his parents were Klaus's Zeke and Klaus's Goldie. But then I think he went to Maurice Carver's yard. I'm not dead sure on this stuff. I think he went to Maurice Carver, and then later on, I think I know that for a while he was in the hands of Norman Hooten. I think it is because Norman Hooten talked about Bolio going with him he run a trap line, and Bolio would kill the animals that were in the trap. He'd finish them off, and he loved it, and he'd be screaming when we're getting close. He'd be screaming, and so I know Norman Hooten had him for a while, and then maybe I'm not sure if Bennett Clayton ever had him. I'm not sure on that. Anyway, I think Bennett Clayton did have him, maybe, but I'm not positive on that. Anyway, Indian Sonny got the dog after that. Maybe he got it from Bennett Clayton, and then Indian Sonny had stolen a very important dog from me, so I had no love for the guy. But I didn't steal Bolio. A guy I knew called Lou Lewis, he stole Bolio, and then Bolio bit a kid up where he lived, so he was sort of a hot potato there, worried about getting in trouble over him biting his kid. And I was doing business with Lou and knew him, and I think I already knew that he had Bolio. And then he asked me if I would keep Bolio, where he could breed to him, but he'd be out, be 100 miles away from where he bit the kid. So I was thrilled to get Bolio, and I had I didn't owe Sonny a damn thing because he stole my precious tater dog. And I found out years later that Sonny had sent him to Bert Klaus because Sonny had a friendship with Bert Klaus. So Bert Klaus was in on it. Bert Klaus knew that was a stolen dog, and the dog Tater was half Klaus's blood. So Bert Klaus was a real asshole, and Sonny is too. And they so the dog ended up at Bert Klaus, and the dog had hardly a tooth in his head at that time, and he was 6 years old. Naturally, I had a big grudge against Sonny, so I was not about to say, "Oh no, I can't take Bolio. He's a stolen dog." I didn't even think twice about it. I was thrilled to get him, and that's where he ended up with me, where he lived to be about 13 years old and died in my yard. But yeah, I think Bennett Clayton. I think Sonny got him from Bennett Clayton. And I think I know that for a while Norman Hooten owned him. I think Carver had him, and of course Eddie Klaus. The dog was born in his yard apparently. So that's what I know about the Bolio changing hands.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the truth to the best I know it. Although I'm a little shaky on. Before Sonny, I'm pretty sure it was Bennett Clayton that had Bolio, and Sonny purchased him from Bennett Clayton. And then I know for a fact that Norman Hooten owned him for a while because I read about him talking about Bolio. And then of course, I'm pretty sure he was in Carver's yard because I think Carver and Hooten were pretty thick, so he's probably in Carver's yard, and then Carver gave him or traded him or something to Hooten, and then maybe Hooten, how he got from Hooten to Bennett Clayton to Sonny, I'm not just dead sure. I wouldn't bet my life on it. I could be off on some of that. But then I know Lou Lewis stole the dog. put him with me for safekeeping, and that was the end of his changing hands.
Okay. So isn't Lou Lewis the one who stole Bolio and gave him to you? Isn't that the same man
He
who
didn't
stole...
really give him to me. He put him with me. He still, was breeding to the dog. He was there, but he didn't just say, "Here, he's your dog." He still considered himself, the owner of the dog. But naturally, if I'm going to have the dog in my yard, I can breed to him as many times as I want. And the fact of it is, he didn't treasure Bolio the way I did. To me, Bolio was a super dog, and I bred the shit out of him. Lou Lewis didn't breed to him much. Once or just a couple, 3 times. He was higher on the stuff, the blood that he had. But he didn't give me the dog. He just put the dog with me. So we were like, I guess, partners on the dog, you could say.
Okay. But isn't Lou Lewis, he stole the dog, placed the dog with you. Isn't that the same man that eventually stole the dog from you?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it is. I'm trying to think of the time. Yeah, he stole the son of Bolio right out of my front yard. I was real proud of the dog, and I had him out in the front yard. I wasn't expecting anybody to steal him. And the way he was able to get away with it is he was supposed to be my friend. So if we opened the door and saw him there, he could just pretend like he was petting the dog. But he just seen an opportunity. I didn't find this out till I was out of the dogs. I didn't find this out till years later. And then a guy that was real thick with Lou Lewis, he told me that Lou Lewis had stolen my dog. So I didn't know that for years later. If I'd known that, Lou Lewis was a piece of shit. And he was a dishonest, untrustworthy, backstabbing friend. If you couldn't really call him a friend, but sometimes I'm a little naive, and I always thought he was my friend. I didn't know all the dirt that he done me, and so now I hate his guts. But back then, we were friends. People jump to conclusions. They say, "Oh, Patrick stole Bolio." No, I didn't steal him. I knew he had been stolen because Lou Lewis told me that he got him, but I had nothing to do with it. And then when he offered me the dog, I jumped on it. But like I say, he didn't flat out give me the dog. He just put the dog with me.
Pretty much a co-own then?
Yeah, you could say that. You could say that we co-owned the dog because he didn't feel like it was safe to keep the dog up there where Bolio bit a kid. And I know Bolio would bite a kid. He was, anybody under about 10 or 12 years old, they better stay away from him because I don't know why, but he would bite a small person or a kid. Mm. He bit Emily's son, but fortunately, he bit the coat, and we were able to break him off before he hurt him. Emily was who I lived with for till she died. Sort of common law wife, I guess. She helped me out a tremendous amount. She was a great help to me in the dog. She did a lot of stuff, and she could handle dogs, and she had pit bulls when I met her, so she wasn't a stranger to the pit bulls. She had pit bulls when we first got together, and she helped me with everything.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah. Thank you.
What is the true breeding behind Grand Champion Buck?
Buck is a heavy Bolio dog, so he comes under the category when you asked me before about what Bolio produced. Buck's father was a dog called Little Tater, and Little Tater was from 2 ROM dogs that were directly sired by Bolio. Bullboy Bob was an ROM dog sired by Bolio. I forgot to tell you that last interview, but Bolio sired Bullboy Bob off of Tuffy, and Bullboy Bob went on to make ROM, and then Bolio sired Red Baby, and she went on to make ROM. So there's 2 ROM dogs that Bolio produced. I think there might be another one. But anyway, so the sire of Buck is a dog called Little Tater. He's sired by Little Tater is sired by Bullboy Bob, which is off of Red Baby and Tuffy. I mean, it's off of Bolio and Tuffy. Sorry about that.
All right.
Let me see. Let me make sure. I'm sort of moving too fast. Anyway, Buck's Little Tater is Buck's father, and Little Tater was sired by Bullboy Bob, who was sired by Bolio out of Tuffy. And then Little Tater's mother was Red Baby, who's off of Bolio and a pure Klaus bitch. So that's the breeding on the father of Buck. He's half Bolio, off of 2 ROM, son and daughter of Bolio. Then on the bottom side, Buck is out of a 3/4 Bolio dog. Her name was Red Lady, and I can't remember who I bred Bolio to get Red Baby. It's been 15 years. I'm sure it's on the pedigrees online and everything, but anyway, the bitch's name was Red Lady, and she was 3/4 Bolio. So Buck is a 5/8 Bolio dog, 1/2 on the top and 3/4 on the bottom. So that's his breeding, Little Tater to Red Lady. Anybody that's got the big Stratton book, the big flat one, they can see Buck posed. He's stretching out. He's on a chain, and he's stretched out. It's a broadside photo of him. And then in the same book, there's a similar photo of Little Tater. And anybody that looks at those two pictures and compares the two dogs, I don't think they'll have any doubt that Little Tater was the father of Buck. They look extremely similar.
Okay.
But that's the true breeding on Buck.
Okay. All right. Now, what was your relationship with STP?
Absolutely none. I didn't even like the guy. He didn't get Buck from me. I sold Buck to some guy back near where he lives. The guy said Buck was cross-eyed, so I said, okay, send him back, and I'll replace him. And he was getting ready to send Buck back to me when a guy named Waldman purchased Buck from him. So he called me back and said, never mind, I don't have the dog anymore, you don't need to replace him. So Waldman had the dog, and then the story I got is that Dumas was over there at Waldman's place to buy a particular dog, and a kennel fight broke out between Buck and the dog that he had originally come over there to buy, and Buck beat the shit out of the dog. So STP said, I want to buy that dog. I want to buy the one that just kicked ass in the dog I was going to buy. So I don't know what he paid for him, but it's probably a lot. But he bought, Beeman bought the dog, and Dumas, I mean, and I don't like the guy, but he's a pro. He's a good handler and conditioner. Like I said, I don't like Dumas, but the reason I don't like him is he wrote a story about Buck and never even mentioned my name, sort of like the dog dropped out of the sky, and it pissed me off. I mean, how hard is it to say where the dog came from? But he wrote a whole 2 or 3 page story in the journal. Never said a word about where the dog come from. And I thought he was kind of a stupid breeder because he never loaded up on Buck. He had the dog, one of the greatest dogs in history. He had him sitting in his yard until he died. And when Buck died, he didn't have anything off of Buck. Other people had come to him and paid him to breed the Buck and doubled up on him. Other people had gotten the Buck bred pretty good. But he was the owner of the dog. He could have bred the Buck as many times as he wanted and kept as much as he wanted to keep. He didn't do it. He didn't, and so I didn't like him because he's an asshole, and I thought he was a stupid breeder. But as far as a conditioner and handler, he was first class in that department. So he helped Buck go as far as Buck went, which was, he's one of the best dogs that there ever was. And Dumas helped get full potential out of the dog. So I'm glad about that.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
But I had no real relationship with Dumas. When Buck got so big and everything, I thought that he should know his true breeding because I had phonied up the papers on him, and I just did it. It's not something that I'm proud of, but that's the truth. Is I had put down a wrong pedigree on the dog, so I never dreamed he would become such a superstar. And when he did, I called the guy up and told Dumas how Buck was actually bred, and so I guess that's where the controversy started. Is he was registered one way, and then they see different pedigrees. So I can understand, if people are all pissed about that, that's the way it is. I guarantee you about 95% of the big time dog men have lied about something. If they think that they're all telling the gospel in every single dog, they're living in the fantasy land. I know that Blue Money, the champion Blue Money, that was Bert Saros' dog, and he registered off of being off of his Corvino dogs, and I think Crazy Mary too is supposed to be the mother. Well, the mother was a daughter of Bolio that Indian Sunny had purchased from me and sold to Saros, and Saros just didn't want to give the dog credit, But anyway, that's the true breeding on Buck, and my relationship with Dumas. We only spoke that one time. Like I said, I didn't like the guy, but I give him his credit for being a professional. As far as being a breeder, I thought he was a stoop.
Right.
Having that Buck dog there. Buck was better than anything he had, stronger bred than anything he had. Never utilized the dog. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing when it comes to breeding, But some other people did breed the Buck, and his bred has been carrying on, but not through Dumas, through other guys, that Butkus dog, and I see other real good dogs at Buck, on guys that were smart enough to breed to the dog and keep his blood.
Mm-hmm. What's the STP guy's name?
John Dumas.
Okay.
I just fess up, I was young in the dogs, and so, some people say, well, he did it because he was pushing the Maloney dogs. Well, I had more Bolio dogs than I did Maloney dogs, and I wish I hadn't have done it, but the truth is the truth, and some people are scratching their heads. Some of them are probably already saying that I phonied up the papers, so now they can say that I said it myself, Right. I don't have a halo. I'm not a saint, but I always try to give people good quality dogs for the money they paid. I never ripped them off in that way, where I tried to make the dog sound better than he was with a phony pedigree and sell him a crap dog with a nice pedigree. I never once did that. I only kept quality in my yard. I never kept anything with quality in my yard. And anybody that bought a dog from me, they got a well-bred dog. And 99% of the time, the dog's pedigree was accurate. But with the Bolio dog being stolen, I had to phony that up until Indian Sunny already knew that I had taken the dog. And at that point in time, Ralph Greenwood called me and asked me about it, and I gave him the true breeding on all the breedings where I had put another dog in place of Bolio, so Indian Sunny wouldn't come hunting for me with a gun or something.
Right.
So I figured he already knew, so what's the point of making a big secret? So I told Ralph Greenwood, I think I sent him a list of all the dogs that were registered sired by Bolio, and the true, sired, they were sired by Bolio, but they were registered off a different dog, and I sent him a list of all of them that were really sired by Bolio.
Okay.
After Sonny already knew, I knew that he knew, and so there was no point keeping it secret anymore.
Right. Now, have you ever had any interaction with Diane Jessup?
Diane Jessup. Is she that lady that runs the site about abused dogs and stuff?
I'm not sure.
I know if it's a Diane Jessup I'm thinking of, she absolutely hates me. I've never met the girl. She's a big fat pig, and I've never I never met her. But for some reason, she really hates me, and she's always trashing me and making up lies about me. And I have no clue why she hates me so much or why she lies about me so much. But she does, so she's a big phony. She's got this anti-dog fighting site, and yet at the same time she's always talking about this dog fighter and this dog fighter, and she writes for the Gazette and says who's good and who's not good, and it's all up to her to decide who's. But then at the same time, she runs this site, anti-dog fighting site. So if she is consistent, she shouldn't like any dog fighter or any pit bull breeder that breeds them for fighting. But she talked about some guys and put them up on a pedestal, and then other people like myself, for whatever her reasons were. I don't even know why the bitch hated me. But I'm the type of person, if somebody hates me, I hate them right back, I don't worry about it,
Right.
But yeah, that's all I know about Diane Jessup, is she's ugly as sin and a fat lying bitch. That's I've never even spoken with her or met her in person.
Who is Fat Bill?
Fat Bill, I hate to keep crashing everybody, but he was a big piece of shit too. He was a pretty well-known dog, man. He was down in, I think, North or South Carolina, maybe North Carolina, and he ran a magazine for a while, and he had me write for his magazine when we had a falling out, and then all of a sudden I went from being a great guy to being a piece of shit. When we had a falling out over something, and so he ran a magazine for a while, and he's just some of these dog men. They don't like pit bulls. They just don't like them. They use them and they brag on them, but they really have no love for the dogs. And he was one of them. He was a guy like that.
Okay.
But he's very unreliable person, a real bad liar, and just a no good guy.
Yeah, I personally, I'm still learning. I never heard of the guy.
Yeah, I knew him pretty well. I remember he one time he came back to me and he wanted me to go back to work. He wanted to be friends again. And we just told him, sorry, man, I got no use for you. The next thing we know is, you fuck sticks, he was writing, he was trashing me over the internet, you fuck sticks and everything. And I said, a couple of days ago, you wanted me to come back and be buddies and write for your magazine or something. I forget, but, and then I think we turned you down, so now we're fuck sticks again. that's the kind of guy that he was, just, he's in his own world, but I don't think very many people have much use for him. But he was into dogs, and he was pretty active in the dogs.
For those that would want to get involved in breeding pit bulls or creating a line of pit bulls, how many dogs should you have on your yard to actually start a bloodline?
Well, maybe about 15 dogs might be enough to really do some good work if they were carefully selected dogs that were all well bred, but not bred exactly the same as each other. You could probably start working from there, and probably 15, 16 dogs would probably give you enough variety and enough dogs. If they're real good ones, they got to be good. If you start out with 15, 20 mediocre dogs, that's all you're going to get. You have to start. You have to have really good dogs. But if you did, you wouldn't need too many. I'm thinking maybe 8 bitches and 8 males. You might even want more bitches than males. But then you could go from there and start breeding the litters up and checking them out and seeing which way things are going, seeing what they're like. So probably you could still do good with a smaller amount than that, but that'd be a good amount. But one time I had 100 dogs, so you can also run things on a bigger scale. Of course, I was selling dogs. So if you're not selling any, you probably don't need as many. I was selling dogs, so I would have to replace the dogs that had been sold. But if you were keeping all your dogs, you would need, maybe 20 dogs might do it, 15, 20 dogs. And I know this one guy had, it was a different breed, but he only had... one male and 2 bitches, and that guy made a fortune. He was a good salesman. He just kept breeding that male to one of the other 2 bitches, and he got top dollar. And he always had at least one litter going, but he was getting at least $2,000 a puppy, and he had them all sold practically before they were born. He's a good salesman. How good his dogs were, I'm not sure. They were Central Asian Shepherds, but yeah, maybe 16 dogs or so would be enough to. But like I say, it depends on if the 16 dogs you get aren't any good, then it's going to be pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to. You have to get the right dogs, and that's tough. That's kind of tough if a guy is a new beginner, because everybody says their dogs are the greatest. You read those ads, and the dogs just sound unbelievably good, and they're probably not all that good. Maybe some of them are, I don't know, but you can't just go by what somebody says, because talk is cheap. You has to be backed up by some other people. If everybody else says this dog's is good, they probably are, but just the guy himself saying how great they are, most of them do say that, and then if you listen to them and take everything they say as the gospel, then you might end up getting a bunch of lousy dogs. That reminds me of something that happened. It has nothing to do with the question, but it's just kind of funny. I had the same thing happen to me by about 5 or 6 other guys, and the story was that they bought maybe 40 dogs from me, maybe 40 or 50 dogs from me, and they all quit. And the thing is, the people saying it had never even met me, never bought a dog from me. But I'm thinking, I don't sell dogs in 50 dog lots. I've never heard of anybody buying that many dogs at one time. They usually buy 1 or 2 dogs, and if that dogs don't work out, they don't come back. So I'm thinking, why would anybody buy 50 dogs and have them all quit? It was just such a phony story, but it was almost the same with three or four different people that I had never met any of them, and they all told the same story on me, that they bought a whole boatload full of dogs from me at the same damn time, and they all quit. So that was their story.
Okay.
But sorry, I just got sidetracked because I just thought about that. But yeah, going to the right guy to purchase dogs that's a big part of it. And if you make the wrong choice, I just buy them one at a time, one or two at a time, sample them. I never do what those guys said that they did to me, buy a whole bunch of dogs and take them home. You just buy one or two at a time, and if the dog works out good, then go back for some more with the same guy. But I do it that way, and just ask around, and try and find out what quality of dogs that the guy sells.
Okay. Well, that is all the questions I had. Was there anything you wanted to add?
As far as me, I just I wanted to say that Lee Robinson breeds up pit bulls and mastiffs, and he breeds them up to create what he calls a bandog, and those dogs are wonderful. I've got a number of them myself. They're big. They're not huge, but they're big. A bitch might run 80 pounds, 90 pounds, and a male might run 100, even 110. They have so much good pit bull blood in them, and they have the size. And the mastiffs, he's very careful on how he selects them. He selects mastiffs that are tough and pit bulls that are tough. And then he also breeds for natural guardian instinct. And his dogs are natural guards. I have one, my leaper dog, and he gets pissed off when anybody even comes near me. I have to calm him down, and he's totally fearless. And he's like a giant pit bull. He's about 100 pounds. He's like a big giant pit bull. But I never taught him to guard me or anything. He just does it naturally. And he's been perfecting his dog for a lot of years, and he does a real good job. So anybody that wants a dog sort of like a pit bull but bigger, and it's a natural guard dog, and also good for hunting wild boar and stuff like that, I highly recommend Lee Robinson's dogs. Or if they just want a good pit bull, he's got some very nice straight pit bulls. So I'd really recommend his dogs very much. I own a number of them, and I'm probably going to get some more. Also, like I said, I live in a real cold place where it stays below freezing sometimes a week at a time. So the bigger dogs, they just take the cold better than a pit bull. I still love the pit bulls, and I'm still going to get more pit bulls, but I like Lee's dogs a lot. And then in regards to Bolio, he sired 3 champions. One of them was champion Bobby Jr. Then the other one was champion Dagan, and I think he had a champion called Kramer. He might have sired more than 3. Champion Princess. He sired champion Princess Hughes off of Faith. So he sired champion Princess, champion Dagan, champion Kramer, and champion Bobby Jr. So there's at least 4. I might be missing somebody else. But then also he sired his son Bullboy Bob made ROM on his own. He was ROM, and then his daughter Red Baby, she made ROM. So he sired at least 2 dogs that made ROM, and then a whole bunch of good ones like the Rolo dog, and just there's a tremendous number of good dogs that he sired. But those were some that actually made the championship. And Tombstone, he sired at least 7 champions. I think he really sired more, but Kelly didn't give him the credit because of some details on the reporting or some bullshit. If the dog had been one of his friend's dogs, it would have been champion in a minute. But Tombstone got 7 champions with the journal, and there was champion Tuffy, champion. Let me see. There's Champion Tuffy. I'm trying to remember the names. I know there was 7 of them. Damn, I was thinking about Bolio, and I wasn't thinking so much about the tombstone. But he sired. Oh, Grand Champion Hope. He sired Grand Champion Hope, who was one of the best bitches ever. And then I'm drawing a blank on all the champions that he sired, but I know he sired 7 champions. So I guess I wish I'd studied up on Tombstone a little more. I was remembering all the Bolio stuff, but Tombstone had 7. It's in the journal, in the Sporting Dog Journal. He's got 7 official champions and a couple others that were champions, but Kelly would not acknowledge they were. It was Kelly's deal, his thing. So if he didn't want to recognize him, there wasn't much I could do about it. But Kelly does recognize him as the sire of at least 7 different champions, and of course the Grand Champion Hope bitch. So yeah, I guess that's about it. I just wanted to get it on the record about Bolio and Tombstone and some of the good dogs that they sired.